Hello, how you doing? This is Gus Tucker here at Financial Freedom Fridays. How you all doing? Hope you're doing well, and it's good to be back. Uh, been on vacation a little bit the last 11 days in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I encourage everybody to go. It was a great time. So it's been spent a couple of weeks in Africa earlier this year, and now a couple of weeks in Mexico. It's good to get away and think. And in doing so, I want to share some information with you. I'm going to step back a little bit from what we have been talking about and encourage you to do some reading. Many of you may be aware of this gentleman and his strategies, and many of you may not. But we're going to introduce some concepts and ask you to do some reading along with me as we talk about strategies for uh, Black people to change our position in America. Okay, so I'm going to see if we can make this full screen. We'll go to the first slide. And our whole goal is to make this as practical as possible. So I'm going to ask you to, and I didn't get a chance to put this in the slides, but uh, to get you to do some reading with me and some thinking with me, and us to have some conversation back and forth through comments, through you chatting in, so we can talk about what's it going to take to practically move Black people forward as a group, not us as individuals. No, not no. I want to be on the screen. Yep. So practical tools in understanding and gain financial independence and sustain it for generations as a group, not just for my individual family, but for us as a group. How do we do that? Okay. So, in the whole thing about financial independence, and for us individually, it's having personal wealth to live without having to work actively for basic necessities. In other words, how do you have passive income? Either through investment income, through real estate or other kinds of investments, or through businesses that you own. But what we want to talk about on a broader scale is what is financial independence and how can it be developed by Black people as a group? Okay, and there's a website I want you to check out. It's called Power Power Powernomics Nomics.com. Powernomics.com. And Google this gentleman, Dr. Claude Anderson, and there's no E. Okay, so don't put an E in there. Dr. Claude Anderson, and his books will come up. And I encourage you to get his books and start reading through them. Black Labor, White Wealth, Power Dynamics, Dirty Little Secrets. You'll see them, and there's a order that he suggests you read them in. Okay, so we're going to spend some time studying this gentleman's writings and the ideas because we need to move together to make this happen. We need to move together to make this happen. So think about this for a second. Since 1860, Blacks continue to control less than 1% of U.S. wealth. After slavery was stopped, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Civil Rights Movement, and all the things it's brought about, we continue to control less than 1% of U.S. wealth. In other words, in 160 years, our situation hasn't changed. That suggests that we need a different strategy. I don't know. If you've done something for 160 years and it's not working, do you think you might need to try something different? What do you guys think? Well, I think Dr. Anderson has some ideas that'll make us all think and decide to live life a little differently. We've talked about some of the individual things you need to do for your family, and we're going to continue to talk about those. But let's talk a little bit about together to taking that family and building it into a community, and then building that into an economy that continues to lift all of us. Okay? So we must work and grow together as a group. What's interesting is that when you think about people groups in the United States, um, black people typically are considered black no matter where they might be from. Africa, Haiti, Jamaica, Barbados, we're all blacks. But then there'll be Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, there'll be Albanians, Italians, and da da da. Asians are kind of homogeneous, but then you've got, you got Chinese, Japanese, Korean, da, da, but we're kind of grouped together black, and we're grouped together also based on the skin color. Black people, the first group of people, and doing some reading and listening to Dr. Anderson, we're the first group of people that based on how we look, our skin color, we're kind of put into a class system. And you'd be surprised who the first person to propagate slavery was based on skin color. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm going to let you read that and let your mind be blown the way mine was. Like, you got to be kidding. No way. And what year was that? What? Are you kidding me? It's been, that thought process has been going on that long? You got to be kidding me. And then how we as a group have to demand what we want from the powers that be together. Okay, so I'm going to share some slides that I'm going to tell you I ripped off from a presentation. I've been doing some reading, and this brother was on YouTube. His channel is called Urban Finance. It's got a lot of good information on it, and I took these slide shots from there. One of the first things we need, and that's one of the things we're seeking to do here, is develop leadership. That we need economic justice, wealth, and power. Like we say, things haven't changed in 162 years. We're still less than 1% of the wealth. In a competitive society, there are no mechanisms to give voice to unorganized and inarticulate groups. Question: do you guys know who Dr. Boyce Watkins is? Let me have somebody hit me on the comment. If somebody's out there listening, hit me up on the comment and say, yes, I know who Dr. Boyce Watkins is, or no, I don't. Just let me know one way or another so I can kind of get a feel for it. Yes, I know who he is. No, I don't. Dr. Boyce, B-O-Y-C-E, Watkins, W-A-T-K-I-N-S. Because next weekend in Charlotte, he's having basically a Black family reunion from all around the country to talk about strategies like this. Did you guys know that was going on? No? Okay. You can look up BoyceWatkins.com and look for the Black Convention, the National Black Convention that's happening in Charlotte next week. I learned about it too late and I got some other commitments, but I will be there, not this year, but next year. In a competitive society, there are no mechanisms to give voice to unorganized and inarticulate groups. You have to know what you want, and you have to be organized enough to get it. One of the things Dr. Anderson talked about, and it's happening, I was listening to a talk he did back in 1995, and he said by 2015, we're going to be in trouble. Why? Because we've always been the second largest minority, white folks than Black folks. But now, because of the influx of Asians and Hispanics into America, we're either third or fourth. So if we didn't get any movement from 1860 to 2022 being number two, what are we going to get from being number three and number four? And a disorganized number two. So I ask you, what's the national strategy to move Black people forward in America? What's our national strategy that we're all tied into? You tell me. So we're going to talk about. So we need to be raising up, as you see those two pictures, the guy holding the book, the person, the figure holding the book, the figure at the blackboard. We got to keep raising up leaders. Today I listened to a message by an 11-year-old guy, 11-year-old preacher who was preaching for Al Sharpton at the National Action Network. And his message was, what can a boy teach me? What can a boy preacher teach me? And it was about young people and what can young people teach older people. And it was a powerful message. And if you look up just 11-year-old preacher, National Action Network, it'll come up. And listen to his message. It was powerful. We need to engage ourselves differently than we have in the past to change our position. Okay? Because like this says, in a competitive society, there are no mechanisms. There's no way to give voice to unorganized and inarticulate groups. And as voting for one party or another, and I'm not for either party, for voting for one party or another, has it changed our situation? We used to vote all one way, then that changed. Now we vote all another way. Has it changed our situation? No. No, it hasn't. The doctrine of unequal exchange. What does that mean? It's the practice of unbalanced socio-economic trade in which weaker parties, and they may be only weaker in their mind, foolishly trade or are tricked into trading their valued goods, services, or properties. And that property might even be their own identity, who they think they are, for money or items of far less value than what the stronger party is trading. Guess what continent in the world has twice as much natural resources as any other continent in the world? Based on its size, it has 2 times as much natural resources as any other continent. Guess what continent that is? The richest continent that exists. Guess what continent that is? Somebody put that in the chat. Give me a comment. What do you think that is? What continent do you think that is? North America? South America? Asia? Europe? Australia? Africa? What do you think it is? Well, it's the African continent. And guess who's been more than any other continent subject to this doctrine right here of unequal exchange? African continent. Or either by deception or by force, we've traded our valued goods and services, properties, even our people, for things of lesser value. So there it is, Africa. I wish we could say things are different today, but what do we trade for things of lesser value? We trade our hard-earned sweat and tears for nothing against Michael Jordan, but Jordan shoes, flashy cars, red bottom shoes, or we want to be involved in certain groups, take pictures with them, drop their name, say we know them. But what have we gotten for that? What have we gotten for the investment of our money? more less than 1% of the wealth. So have we been investing our money in the right stuff? You tell me. Have we been getting the correct return on our investment? In our investment into political parties, whichever one it may be. What could we be doing different to get a different result? It says if you keep doing the same things the same way, you'll get the same result, right? And it's also a recipe for being insane, right? Doing the same thing the same way and expecting something different. The doctrine of unequal exchange. Civil rights movement, man, created a lot of good for us. Got a misspelling here I just saw, but create a lot of good for us. But integration in some ways weakened the black economy because money that would continually generate in our own community was now going to other communities because now we're allowed to spend our money with white businesses. So we actually took money away from black businesses. It didn't deal with the maldistribution of wealth. What happened? And you'll get different opinions on this. But what happened when Martin Luther King began to shift his focus to the economic plight of black people and underserved people? How did that correlate to when he was assassinated? We've got to deal with the redistribution of wealth. I'm not just saying you take it from people, but how can we, as a people, leverage our resources to create value for black people? Lack of direction. Anybody ever got lost before on your way to going somewhere? I had an Uber driver, man, coming last night from the airport. This dude said he'd been driving for 25 years. I said, dude, how are you? What address did you put into the GPS? Because you driving all over Heaven's Avenue. I don't know if you're trying to get a bigger payment or whatever, but so I told him exactly how to get me home. Lack of direction was costing me time and sleep because once I got home, I had to drop somebody else off, then get back. I had to get up for the next day. So lack of direction costs you time and costs you money because time is money. So what is the specific direction we as a group ought to be taking to move forward? And then what are we doing to train leaders to keep the process going? Well, we develop strong institutions that go from millennia to millennia. From generation to generation, they continue to grow in their power and capability and keep delivering on the promises of what we need to move forward as a people. Look, y'all, black people built America. In some ways, slavery had a very simple premise. For Europeans who were suffering through an economic downturn and a general malaise in their society, said, hey, we need some new opportunities. We need some ways to grow our wealth, grow our opportunities and our lifestyle. What are we going to do? Well, what we're going to do is find some new lands, new places to conquer, call our own, and continue to grow our economy. It says Columbus discovered America. I think the Indians would beg to differ. That's like you walking into a conference room where you left your cell phone and wallet on the table and somebody say they discovered it. They didn't discover it, it's yours. Now, if they take it, yeah, they discovered a new opportunity to have some wealth, but how was it procured? That's how America was procured from the Indians. Yeah, Columbus discovered it. He discovered some people lived there already, and then they just figured out ways to take it from them. But if you read this thought bubble right here, it says we raise the food, we raise the children. Have you seen the movie The Help? Love those pies, right? We fought in every war. We helped develop the land. And what did we get as a result? What was remember that exchange? That social economic exchange? What was the exchange we got for that? I would say to you it wasn't equitable. Hopefully this will get you to think and maybe make you mad. I know it's making me mad in a good way. I'm not looking for a handout. But we have to be committed to creating a place where firstly in our own minds we're valued, right? Because I can't control what other people think about me. What you think about me is none of my business. And it's something I have no control over. Only that person can decide how they think about me. But what I can decide is how I'm going to comport myself, how I'm going to make decisions and move forward so that I can be proud of myself and my Father in heaven can be proud of me. So although Black people have contributed so much to this country, we've often been systematically barred from experiencing its benefit, except for a few chosen few who are selected by those in power to have it. We've been systematically, do you remember redlining? That concept that still exists, where folk could only live in certain parts of a city. In the particular city I live in 1988, we were the first Black people to move into this neighborhood. 1988. It's not that long ago. Oh, there was one more slide. Didn't get in here. But Black people have systematically and structurally been excluded from the economic well-being that we should have based on our contributions. So what am I suggesting you do? Tune in next week. We're going to start going through the book, Black Labor, White Wealth, and we're going to get through it in a few programs. Then we're going to talk about Powernomics, which is a plan for Black folks. Then we're going to couple a few more topics after that. Then we're going to talk about how do you, one, personally get your financial self in order and your families. Two, starting a business and investing so that we can move up as a group past this less than 1% of the wealth that's owned in this country. And we're going to talk about strategies to do that and how we can work on that together. What I suggest you do, if this starts making sense to you, that you get other people to join in and we create a movement and join with other people and we start making this happen. Because no one program, no one person, no one anything is going to do that. We got to do it together. All right. So what I encourage you to do is go to powernomics.com. Power, POWERNOMICS.com. Go to powernomics.com. And if you go on there, there's 5 of Dr. Anderson's books and a DVD that's on sale for 99 bucks. It's called a power pack. I bought that. Buy that. Support this brother. Buy that. Okay? And we're going to start going through that first book. We're going to start going through that first book together, Black Labor, White Wealth together, and educating ourselves about how we got where we're at and what strategies were used against us to get there. Because if you don't know history, here's one of the things you're guaranteed to do. Do it again. Or allow it to be done to us again. You understand what I'm saying? Do y'all have a favorite football team? Do y'all see them losing the same way week after week? The same kind of plays, the same kind of mistakes, the same kind of, you know what I'm saying. And depending on where you live, I live in Chicago, and we got the Chicago Bears, and we're struggling right now. And what we're hoping they'll do is learn from their mistakes and not repeat them, so history doesn't repeat itself. Okay? So Powernomics.com, get that 5-book set for 99 bucks. It's on sale there right now. And we're going to start going through the first one next week. Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. And then we together are going to develop a plan for Black people in total and your family specific as a part of that to create financial independence. Does that sound like a plan? Will that work for you? Will that work for you? I hope so, because we got to get free together. It's not good to be free all by yourself. You got to be free with your brothers and sisters so you can explain it, pass it down, and grow it. All right? So you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Like and share this information with your friends and family. You know, even share it with your enemies, you know. Maybe if y'all both think the same way, y'all can not be enemies no more, okay? All right, you guys. Have a great weekend.